Have you ever known exactly what was most important when you woke up? Only to spend hours responding to messages, verifying minor tasks, resolving minor issues, and for some reason, you never got to the one thing that really mattered to you? It feels as if your priorities keep changing. But something much quieter has already begun. Long before you consciously choose what deserves your attention, your brain has already started competing with itself over what feels most urgent. Not because it has forgotten your goals, because it was never designed to prioritize everything at once. We often imagine priorities as something deliberate, a careful ranking, a logical process. You decide what matters most. Then your brain simply follows the plan. But that's rarely how attention actually works. Your brain doesn't begin by asking, what is objectively most important? It begins with a different question. What demands action right now? Those are not the same thing. And the difference quietly shapes much of modern life. You sit down to finish an important report. A notification appears. Someone asks a quick question. You remember an unpaid bill. You notice an email that feels slightly uncomfortable. None of these interruptions are necessarily important. Yet each one briefly pulls itself to the front of the line. Not because they're better priorities, because they create stronger signals. Your brain doesn't directly experience importance. It experiences competition. This seems strange. After all, humans are capable of remarkable planning. We build cities, write books, launch spacecraft. Surely a brain capable of all that can simply decide what matters most, it can. But only within certain limits. Because every moment, thousands of pieces of information are competing for limited neural resources. Internal thoughts, external sights, sounds, memories, goals, emotions, predictions. Each of them generates activity across large networks of neurons. They cannot all dominate awareness simultaneously. So the brain doesn't maintain a perfect hierarchy of importance. It continuously negotiates which signals become conscious. That negotiation never truly stops, even while you believe you've already decided. Here's the counterintuitive part. Your brain isn't built to maximize importance. It's built to minimize costly mistakes. For most of human history, overlooking a potential threat carried greater consequences than overlooking a long-term ambition. Missing a dangerous animal, ignoring signs of conflict, failing to notice sudden movement nearby. Those mistakes could not easily be corrected later. Finishing a complex project could wait. Survival rarely could. The nervous system gradually evolved to give surprising weight to anything that feels immediate, novel, uncertain, emotionally charged, or unfinished. Those signals don't necessarily represent your highest priorities. They simply produce stronger competition inside the attentional system. Modern environments quietly exploit this ancient mechanism. Notifications, breaking news, unread messages, endless updates. Each creates the impression that something requires attention now. Your goals often remain silent. The digital world rarely does. This also explains something many people misunderstand about procrastination. We often assume procrastination means avoiding important work. But your brain doesn't literally compare importance against laziness. It compares competing demands for cognitive control. A difficult project asks for sustained attention, planning, working memory, error monitoring, mental flexibility. At the same time, dozens of smaller tasks promise immediate closure. Reply to one message. Delete a few emails. Check one notification. Cross off one tiny item. Each produces a small reduction in uncertainty. A small feeling of completion. The larger project remains unfinished. Not because it matters less, because its reward arrives much later. Your brain naturally feels the immediate competition more intensely. Sometimes productivity becomes an illusion. The day feels busy. Attention remains active. Yet your highest priorities quietly receive almost none of your cognitive resources. This helps explain another familiar experience. Sometimes everything feels equally important. Your work, your family, your health, your finances, the news, the house, your future. Every responsibility carries genuine value. Yet somehow, nothing becomes clear. Many people assume this means they haven't organized themselves well enough. But often the opposite is happening. Your brain has reached the limits of meaningful prioritization. Priority only exists through contrast. If every signal claims maximum importance, then none of them can easily win the competition. Decision scientists sometimes describe attention as a process of selective amplification. The brain increases the strength of certain representations while suppressing others. But suppression requires energy. The more competing priorities remain active, the more difficult that suppression becomes. Eventually, your mental landscape begins to flatten. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels unfinished. Everything asks for attention at once. This is why mentally overloaded people often say something curious. I don't know where to start. Not because they lack intelligence. Not because they don't understand their responsibilities. Because their internal competition has become too balanced. Every unfinished task continues broadcasting its own signal. Every open loop quietly requests cognitive resources. Your brain doesn't experience a neat priority list. It experiences simultaneous requests. The system becomes crowded long before it becomes conscious. And once cognitive load reaches that point, choosing the next action often becomes harder than performing the action itself. Perhaps the most surprising part is that your priorities don't disappear because you've become distracted. They disappear because your brain keeps trying to preserve every possibility. Every unfinished decision remains available. Every future consequence stays partially active. Every obligation continues competing in the background. The modern world often rewards keeping every option open. But your nervous system evolved in environments where closing options was often necessary for survival. Choosing one path automatically meant letting hundreds of others fade away. Now they rarely do. The emails remain. The tabs stay open. The reminders accumulate. The possibilities never stop multiplying. And somewhere beneath all of it, your brain continues asking the same ancient question. Not what matters most, but what if it can no longer afford to ignore? If you enjoy science that's fast, visual, and straight to the point, subscribe. BioSnap Science that clicks is just getting started.